Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the webinar, Help Your Student Explore and Network Over Winter Break. My name is Ann Garner, and I am the Executive Director of the Homewood Career Center here at Johns Hopkins University. I'm very excited to be with you all this afternoon to share a little bit with you about how we work with your students and how we can partner together in helping them identify opportunities to help them further explore their interests, and how we can leverage the resources here at the Homewood campus in supporting them in terms of their next steps. Just to let you know, the webinar is starting here today at noon. We will go, probably no more than, 30 to 40 minutes. We will certainly take your questions. My colleague Rebecca Schillen is here with me, and so she will be responding to any questions that you have in the chat box. And we will also be recording this webinar, so for anyone who is unfortunately not able to make it while it is live, we'll have the opportunity to watch it either through our YouTube channel, or we will also be able to give a copy of it to the Parents Network so that you can view it through their website as well. So we are excited to be able to share it with you after the fact. So moving on, our first slide, let's see, looks like I'm having some issues with advancing the slides, so let me see. Oh, okay, here we go. Our first slide is focused on a new program that we offered this year for the first time to our first year students. We called it Launch, and so for those of you who are family members of first year students, this was a program that was offered to your student. This was an opportunity for our coaches to connect directly to them, and a little bit further on in the webinar today, I can kind of walk you through the different opportunities in terms of how we engaged with them during those meetings. But just know that during this program, this is an opportunity both this past semester in the fall as well as in the upcoming semester in the spring for your student to connect directly to a coach to talk with someone about their career questions, things like that have to do with, for example, their resume, if they're interested in internships or research. So we wanted to provide a point of contact in the career office for all of our incoming freshmen so that if they did have questions that they had a point of contact to talk to. In a little bit, I'm going to walk you through some of the opportunities that your students had to meet with our coaches, so you can learn a little bit more about the topics that they covered with them. Again, the Launch program is not a required program. It was a voluntary program, but we did see quite a few freshmen throughout the fall semester. So I'll share more with you about that with you in a minute. For all of the parents and family members that are here on the line today, all of the students, whether you have a freshman or an upperclassman, all of the students in the fall of this past year had the opportunity to engage with us in the events that you see on the screen in front of you. So we offered career fairs, both a general career fair where we had over 100 employers. We also offered a career fair specifically for STEM students. It was a fairly boutique career fair, if you will, in terms of meeting the interests of both students and employers interested in more of the technical fields. In addition to that, we offered what we call sort of industry-focused weeks, where we connected students directly to employers and alumni in the fields of consulting, public service, and in health sciences, so that students could connect directly to people in those fields to learn more about them. So if you had a student who possibly isn't sure if they're interested in these areas but wanted to explore, there were opportunities to connect with alumni and employers in those fields. But for students who are more interested in learning about opportunities or internships. There were also opportunities for students to connect directly with employers and alumni in the fields to actually apply, interview, and engage in those opportunities as well. So this was a great semester for recruiting in each of these areas, and it was a great semester for your students to connect in these particular industries. So I wanted to give you a flavor for some of the types of events and things that we did in this past fall semester. Going back to launch, though, I did want to also, for the freshman family members that we have on the line, wanted to give you a sense of the topics that we covered with the students. So we know that, for example, that sometimes our freshman students are a little reticent to engage with some of those larger scale events that I, for example, just showed you on the previous slide. And so we wanted to provide some tailored programming specifically for them to help them make that transition from high school to college. And so we met with them during orientation, where, and you can see that picture there on the far left-hand side of your screen to give you a flavor, where we saw a lot of students there where we gave them a sense of what we do in the Career Center and how we work specifically with freshmen, the kinds of activities that they might expect from us. And we tried to make it fun, so you can see them with their phones in their hands, and that's because we have them engage with us and participate using their phones. We would ask them a series of questions and they would answer them using their phones. So we tried to make it very interactive and very fun for them. So that's what you're seeing there in that picture. In October and November, we had some separate meetings where we had them really think about the types of career interests that they had, possibly even some postgraduate goals. And while that may seem like far away, 4 years from now, it's really important for them to start even brainstorming the possibilities of things they might be interested in, so that we can begin to have them think about timelines and resources and things that they may want to explore in their freshman and sophomore year to help get them ready. And then in November, we talked with them about thinking about the summer, because for a lot of employers, they are thinking about interns even in the fall semester. And so we were talking with students about the activities and the things that they could do to kind of get ready if they would like to intern or look for research that they might want to do over their first summer away from Hopkins. So that was a topic for a conversation that the coaches had with the freshmen during the launch program in November. So moving on from there, as we think about, but this particular slide talks about, some of those specific activities that I mentioned to you. And so I was thinking about a different slide, actually, I was moving on to, but with this particular one, this actually shares in more detail the actual particular topics that we talked about in regard to the November activities. So I mentioned that we were talking about with them about the summer. You can see on this slide the very specific items that we reviewed with them. So we do partner with our Homewood Office of Undergraduate Research. There, students can find opportunities to do research here on campus. And so we talked to them about how to connect with that organization. Internships and volunteering are also critical to a student's experience. And being a freshman, you're never too young, or it's never too early to start thinking about that. So we started having conversations with them about how to identify internship opportunities. And so I'll talk with you all a little bit more as we go through about the types of things that we shared with them. Handshake, that you'll see there on the slide, is our main vehicle that we use when we're connecting students with opportunities. So Handshake is our technology where employers host jobs and internships that students can connect to directly. So we talked to them a lot about that. And then shadowing is also a great opportunity. And we'll talk a little bit about how you as a family member might even be able to help your student learn more about shadowing. Perhaps you know someone, a professional that they might connect to, that they might shadow to learn a little bit more about their jobs. Oftentimes, students don't know a lot about different career opportunities because it's pretty much what they've been exposed to. So what we try to do with shadowing is expose them to new opportunities, new career fields, things that they don't know a lot about, but instead of through an internship, give them an opportunity to maybe see what someone is doing for a day, and give you program past January. Students apply through an alumni network, and so those students will be able to shadow those alums coming in January. And then, of course, the whole idea of being able to actually do some work. We have a student employment office here on campus, and there's also other types of paid opportunities that students can apply for as well to earn great experience over the summer. And so we also talked about that as an option when we met with the students during the November launch program. So let's see. So what can you do to help work with your student? There are a lot of, I believe, that parents can do and that we can work in partnership as students are exploring different opportunities. And that is to have them kind of think about what their goals are. Oftentimes, they might say, it's an internship or it's a volunteer experience, but having them really think about, well, what is the actual goal? What are you trying to accomplish through that internship or through that volunteer experience? What is it that through the internship that you're trying to achieve? So I firmly believe that parents can be great and family members can be great partners as we support the students through their time in the undergraduate experience. Having just really even informal conversations with students, asking them very open-ended questions about their time here at Hopkins in this first semester, what their learning was like, what did they enjoy most about it, what student organizations did they find most interesting, what class did they take that they really enjoyed that perhaps they didn't expect to. All of these kind of lead to things that they might want to continue to explore in a little bit more detail. And so as they think about their coming summer, what might an internship look like for them, or what kind of volunteer experience? And so, you see the questions that are here on the slide. I think as family members and as parents, you can help your student in terms of thinking about their particular goals and how you can be a resource and a support. Certainly, we offer programming, we offer resources here for them, which you can be as you are understanding and learning about these resources, you can help remind them of those. But you too also have resources potentially that you can share with them and encourage them to take advantage of. So I would encourage you to perhaps over the break, when the students don't have the pressure of taking a class, of studying for a test, that this is the opportunity to really have these kinds of conversations with the students to learn more about what their interests are and what their goals are, and then encouraging them to come in to take advantage of the resources that we have here at the Career Center. So over the break, as you're talking to your student and as you're learning more about their interests, if in fact one of their goals is to obtain an internship or to identify a volunteer experience or to get a summer job, having them brainstorm a list of employers that they're interested in. Sometimes it's kind of challenging for them to think about that, and so you might help them brainstorm that list. There's also, as you can see at the top of this slide, a list of ideas of places that they could go to start that brainstorming, that list of interesting employers. One of the things that we find here is that students have this sort of go-to list based on brand name employers. So, for example, the Googles and Facebooks of the world, because those employers have brand name recognition. But I oftentimes encourage them to think more broadly, because oftentimes smaller to even medium-sized employers will give students more meaningful experiences, because they have deeper level of engagement oftentimes. And so as students are thinking about where they want that first experience to be, there are all kinds of resources they can go to. So having those dream employers is certainly one avenue they can explore. Handshake, which is the job and internship database that I mentioned to you that we use. It's the technology where employers go and they post their jobs and internships. These are the employers that want to hire your student. They're looking for Hopkins students. They're looking for Hopkins resumes. So I'm encouraging your student to get onto Handshake, complete their profile, and use that as an opportunity to do some keyword searches for employers would also be very useful. LinkedIn is also a great tool for your student to search for employers as well. It's also a great opportunity, if your student hasn't already, to create a profile for him or herself to start connecting. Go Hop Online is a system that is internal to Johns Hopkins. It's a way for alumni to register, and it's a way for students to then connect with those alumni through that system. So if your student is interested in identifying alumni who are working in companies that they're interested in, Go Hop Online is the resource that your student would want to register for, and then can use that system to search specifically for Johns Hopkins alumni. And then the Vault Guides are a resource that the library here at Hopkins hosts for us, but your student can access the Vault Guides directly through our website, set up an online profile for themselves, and do research on employers by industry. So these are just some of the avenues that they can use to identify potential employers that they might want to seek out for internships or other types of opportunities. And certainly thinking more broadly than that list of resources is thinking about the network that they themselves have and you as family members have that they can have access to as well. So you might think about doing an exercise with them over the holiday break in terms of connecting them to family and friends. So thinking about who are you connected to that you could connect your student to? Which friends have they now formed since they've started at Hopkins that they might connect to, because perhaps their new friends that they have identified here at Hopkins, perhaps their family has connections. So there's all kinds of ways that they can build out their network as they are thinking about opportunities. Foundations and professional associations are also another great way to identify people in their network. Students and alumni at Hopkins, I mentioned Go Hop Online is a great avenue. And they are just now, if they are freshmen, starting to meet faculty and researchers who can also be another great resource. And if you are a family member whose student has been here for more than this first year, their network may even be even larger. And certainly our students are joining student organizations that oftentimes have a faculty mentor attached to them. And so that person could also potentially be a good resource. So having them think more broadly, more widely about who's in their network is a very important part of them starting to make connections around who they could connect to over the break that might be a good resource for them. So moving beyond the network, I just wanted to also hit on a couple of other ideas for you to think about depending upon the goal that your particular student has for their summer. That first goal is job shadowing. I mentioned that we are just initiating a new shadowing program for the first time called the Sophomore Shadow. But you don't necessarily have to participate in a Johns Hopkins program to do job shadowing. Anyone can really do job shadowing. It's just really identifying someone, a professional, who is willing to host your student in their organization for a few hours, a day, a week, so that your student can observe the culture in that organization, can learn what it's like to work in that organization. They could potentially work on a few things, but really the purpose is observation, and to see what it's like to be in that organization. Again, we hosted the Sophomore Shadow for this year in January because in the academic calendar, we have that January intersession break. So we figured this was a good opportunity for students to participate. So certainly for any of you who are on the webinar, this might also be a good opportunity for your student as well, to connect with an alum or with someone in your professional network who may be able to host them for a day or two, just to see what it's like to work in their organization. Oftentimes, job shadowing is a great opportunity because students can see very quickly, without committing to an internship, is this a type of a field that I would want to be a part of or not? And they pretty quickly decide that they would like to either intern in a place like this or they wouldn't like to at all. Something about being in the environment and getting the feel for what it's like to be there helps a student oftentimes make that decision pretty quickly without having to commit to, let's say, a 10 or a 12-week internship. So a shadowing experience can be very helpful, and I would encourage any of you who can help your students set something like that up, that would be very, very helpful. Moving on from that is the idea of internships. And so this particular slide just gives you a snapshot. It in no way is meant to say that this are the only places where our students intern, but it's meant to share with you just some ideas of where our students have interned in the past. You can see on the left-hand side of the slide that these organizations are sort of a representative sample of 65% of Krieger and 35% of Whiting students. The types of internships in terms of position titles are in the bottom right corner, and where and how they're paid is in the upper right-hand corner. And so in looking at that, you can see that they're in many different locations. Most of those internships are paid, although I will be talking to you in a little bit about the funding mechanisms that we have available for any of your students who end up obtaining an unpaid internship. We do have funding mechanisms to help support unpaid internships, which I'll share in a little bit. And again, this slide is meant to give you just kind of an overview of internships that students from Hopkins have gotten in the past. Moving on, I realize that this particular slide is tough to see, but I want to share the intent of this slide with you just so that you can connect with your student about this. This is a screenshot from Handshake. And so one of the things I might encourage you to think about with your student is having them log into Handshake, because family members cannot get into Handshake. You could view it through your student, but students can actually go on and look at company pages and look at student reviews. So students who have interned, and this is an example of the MITRE Corporation, that's the screenshot. So students who have who have done internships at the MITRE Corporation, who have interviewed with them, can do reviews, and they are posted online in Handshake. And so if a student is considering interning there or considering interviewing with them, they can actually go on the site through Handshake and see what other students have written about their experience interning with this company. And so again, Handshake is not only a platform for your student to identify and apply for internships and jobs, but it's also an opportunity for your student to learn more about what it's like to work for these different companies. So it is a great resource, and I think the holiday break is a great opportunity for them to use some of that time to use Handshake to do some research into companies they may be interested in, to find out from the student experience what it's like to work there. So they could explore the employer pages to learn more about student experience. Moving on from there, oftentimes we get questions about when students should apply for internships. And again, there's no one right answer for that. We're giving you a timeline here tentatively, but it really depends on the industry that your student is interested in. So because we're coming to the sort of the close of the fall semester and starting into the spring, what I would encourage students who do not have internships secured for the summer, I would encourage them to use the break over the holidays and into January to update their resumes and to identify employers and internship positions that they may be interested in. If they're able to come back in January during the intersession break, we are going to have opportunities to meet with coaches and to attend what we call our foundational labs. Foundational labs are basically workshops that we offer to students on career content. So anything from resumes to finding an internship, and to basically how to navigate the career development process. And so because students are not, unless they're registered for an intersession class, they would be able to participate in these opportunities to kind of get their resumes up to speed, to start to identify internship possibilities, and to use this time to kind of get ready to start to apply. We give you a time frame here in which they can start in February and March, meeting with the career coach, beginning to apply to positions. We will have events going on in February and March that they can engage directly with alumni and employers to start applying for positions and start networking as well. And I'll share some of those with you shortly. But that's also a time frame in which they can use. I would say that, definitely they want to be applying in February and no later than March for opportunities. And we are here with them every step of the way. So there are opportunities to meet with coaches or to participate in larger scale events to get support all the way through the process. This is a video that resides in the Career Center's YouTube channel, and Rebecca is going to be typing into the chat box the link to where you can find it in our YouTube channel. But just know that if you search our YouTube channel, you should be able to find it. I'm going to go ahead and play the first part of it. I probably will not play the entire video, but just to give you a flavor for the type of advice and guidance that we provide students on how to use this platform and how to identify opportunities. So I'll go ahead and start it just so you can get a feel for the kind of guidance we give to students.
Need help using Handshake to find jobs and internships you actually want? Say no more. Here are 5 tips to get you started. Tip number 1, use your peers. Not sure what to search for? Handshake suggests search terms that are popular with others in your major. Tip number 2, don't search your major. Your major does not equal your job or industry. Tip number 3, know your search tools. If you have a job title, employer, or other keyword or field in mind, you can enter it into the search box. You can also specify location and type of position. Looking for a remote position? Leave the location blank and add remote to your search box. If you put it into your location, you'll get a town in Oregon.
So you get a sense for this particular video. Again, you could watch it on our YouTube channel to get more information. We would encourage your students to watch that one as well as other advice and guidance that we offer on our YouTube channel. I understand that someone had typed in the chat box about, can students work with coaches remotely during the holiday break? And absolutely they can. In fact, in Handshake, students can request appointments to meet with our coaches, and that is a virtual is one of the options that is available to meet with a coach. So we can do that over the phone, we can do it over Skype. So we're pretty flexible when it comes to setting up those meetings. So absolutely. This next slide is for our international students and our family members who are international and are trying to support their students remotely. So we work with our international students and we partner with our Office of International Services. We know that it can be particularly challenging for students who are international to identify opportunities and to find work in the United States. So we just have a few tips that we think can be very helpful, and we would encourage our family members to reinforce these tips for their students. And that is to first, they want to start with the Office of International Services before they come to the Career Center. It's always best to start with them sooner rather than later, because timing is absolutely critical in this process, and they need to get advice and guidance from them first before coming to us. So it's always best to start with them, and then then they can come in with us, and we absolutely help them with resumes. We help them identify where they can find opportunities with companies that are more open to CPT, and for students looking for opportunities once they graduate, OPT, which is it's called optional practical training. But again, starting with the Office of International Services is important. We would encourage, students to not only look here in the United States for opportunities, but we would also encourage them to look at opportunities to work abroad, whether that's in their home country or in another country. And we have resources to help students identify those opportunities. Handshake is one of those resources, and it's a great way for students to locate opportunities both here in the United States and overseas. So again, we encourage our international students to partner both with us and with our Office of International Services. One of the things we also wanted to highlight for our family members is that we do have a dedicated page on our website, because we realize that you cannot locate or get into Handshake on your own. Only your student can. But this is a page that you can see from our website that highlights internship programs that we are focused on here at the Career Center. And if you wanted to look specifically at them, please go to our website to learn more. One of the things you will notice about Hopkins is that we at the Career Center have identified things that we are focused on when it comes to internships, but there are a lot of departments that do work with internship programs. And so one of the things that we have tried to do is try to roll up all of those different programs onto our website to provide sort of a one-stop shop, if you will, so that students and family members can see everything in one place, so that you don't have to go and look in multiple places across the university for information on internships. So that's the point of this particular link, is for you to be able to see it all in one place, even though an internship this program might exist, in a particular department. One of those, or actually two of those internship programs you can see in front of you. One is a new program that we are starting here at the Career Center called In Baltimore. We did a pilot of it last summer where we were able to connect 3 Johns Hopkins students with 3 employers. We're calling it In Baltimore. It's a paid internship program where we're trying to connect Hopkins students directly to small local businesses who might not normally hire an intern, to be able to show them the value of Hopkins students. And so we had a great reception over the summer. You can see one of our students, Zach Bird, who interned at Center Stage. We are hoping to build that program out to 20 positions over the next summer, and we will be hosting an internship career fair in February, which I'll share more with you about. And that's a great opportunity for students who are looking for internships in the summer of 2019. There's also another internship program called CIIP. It's a community internship impact program that is co-hosted with the Center for Social Concern. Our Center for Social Concern partners with local community organizations, many of them in the nonprofit space. And they are going to be looking to connect with 50 Johns Hopkins students. And their deadline to apply for those positions, you can see here on the screen, is December 23rd. And so we're hoping to make those connections between those organizations and Hopkins students in the early spring. You can see that there's more information available about the CIIP program at the website listed there at the bottom of your screen. It's studentaffairs.jhu.edu/social concern. Okay, and so another avenue around internship is looking to you as family members and as parents to see if your companies need interns. And so we have a program called the Parent Internship Network. And so if you know that your company hosts interns, one of the things that we do is we are able to put these internships in Handshake and label them as a parent internship network internship, so that students know that it is an internship that is hosted by a parent, in essence. And so if you know that your organization has one, you can start by emailing us at homewood.internship@jhu.edu, and we can work with you to get those internship opportunities posted. You can see a picture of some students who completed some PIN internships at Restaurant Brands International, and they had an amazing experience. It's great working with family members and parent partners in connecting our students with internship opportunities. So if you have one that's available, we can connect you with our internship coordinator, Sierra Flowers, who works directly with parents in getting those opportunities posted in Handshake. So funding. I mentioned to you that one of the things that we are really mindful of is our students who participate in unpaid opportunities. And so on our website, we do have information that's available around how we support students who need funding for travel, internship funding, or housing funds. So for example, for our students who might travel to the West Coast to work in Silicon Valley, while they may be funded for their internships, it's also very expensive to live in Silicon Valley for the summer. So we do provide different opportunities, different grants for students. All of this information is available on our website, and it explains how students apply, what the timelines are, the information that we need, and how the money is made available to students. So if this is something that you or your student is interested in learning more about, I would encourage you to take a look at our website to get more details on the application process. But we're very excited to offer these opportunities to students who are seeking unpaid opportunities, who are looking for that experience. We don't want them to not get the experience because they're not being paid. It's really important for students to gain experience. And so this funding really helps to make that happen. Another opportunity we want to put on your radar is an opportunity that's largely geared for our freshman and sophomore students. So if your student is still kind of trying to figure some things out, whether they're trying to still figure out their major, or they've got a major and they're trying to figure out, what can I do with this major? Our office has created a course that we're offering over the intersession called Path, Passion, or Purpose and Passion, Exploring Career Options. It's a week-long course. We're teaching it twice. Once the first week of January, and again the third week in January. And it's a 1-credit course, and basically we help students explore their values, interests, personality, skills, and then help them figure out where they would be a good fit with different career options, different organizations, and help them create a network or a pathway, if you will, towards those organizations. So it gets them thinking about where they would be a good fit and kind of next steps and a way forward to either pursuing an internship or a job, depending upon their year and sort of where they are in their career development process. So again, this is a brand new thing that we are offering this year for the first time. We're very excited about it, and students have the opportunity to register now before they leave to return home for the break. Also during the January intersession, we will be offering, and I mentioned this before, I believe, the career labs, which are in essence workshops. These were very popular last January because while students might be taking intersession classes, this was a great opportunity for them to also participate in these career workshops to learn about job and internship searches, writing their resume, networking, interviewing, and if they're in the process of negotiating an offer, how to go about doing that. So this is a great opportunity for your students to participate in these types of workshops as well, without having to worry about being in the midst of taking their spring semester classes. So I would encourage students to participate in these workshops as well. So for the spring, I had shown you that one slide of all the things we did in the fall. I also want to give you a sense of what we're going to be offering in the spring. So the first week of February, we are hosting what we're calling Internship Week. And during Internship Week, the programming that we are offering focuses on helping your students get an internship. So the item that you see on the far left-hand side of your screen, micro internships with Parker Dewey, just to let you know what that is. Parker Dewey is an organization that connects students with what I would call like contractual opportunities. So they are not like 10 or 12-week opportunities, but they are project-based opportunities that oftentimes students will work on while they're in school, or maybe they're home for the summer break. So these are great opportunities for them to get very specific project-based experiences without necessarily having to show up to a particular work site. These are paid opportunities, and they are career-related experiences. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to host Parker Dewey on campus for them to introduce these ideas to the students of what types of opportunities they have, the length of time, and how students would go about applying for them. We're also going to do a program on the funding process. So for students who are interested in getting funding to learn a little bit more about how they would apply. We're going to host that internship fair, which I mentioned to you, where we're hoping to host about 20 employers. And then we're going to do a program on how to get an internship for students who are still looking for internships. So that's going to be a great week of internship programming, and we hope that your student is able to participate in some, if not all, of the programming that we offer that week. This information, by the way, for your student, if they're looking to find out more about which days, at what time, and all of this information is available on Handshake. Then the rest of the semester, you can see the different industry-focused weeks that we have. So we're going to do a nonprofit career week, the week of February 11th, where we will host nonprofit alumni and employers here on campus, and also host a career fair where we'll probably have at least 20, if not more, employers here on campus, probably hosting both jobs and internships. The week of February 12th, which sort of overlaps with that nonprofit career week and into the following week, is a week where we partner with the Whiting School of Engineering. Engineering Week is a nationally known week that engineering schools participate in all across the country. And so we are working with our engineering partners and faculty to do some career-related events for engineering students that particular week. Finance Career Week is the week of February 18th, where we'll be working with our students who are interested in careers in finance. And then finally, the week of March 4th is our Arts, Media, and Marketing Career Week. You can kind of think of Arts, Media, and Marketing as our week where we focus on the industry where, of the creative careers, if you will. So any of our students who are interested in careers in the creative industry. So for example, last year, I know we did things in the publishing industry, in the film industry, in news and media, and in marketing. So think about this as a very broad focused week, and we'll be bringing in a lot of different employers and alumni to connect with your student if you believe that your student would have interest in that particular area. This is a great opportunity for them to do some amazing networking, which is really tends to be very important in the creative careers. So we are getting ready to come to a close, but before I do close it out, I also wanted to share this slide with you. So I mentioned these different industry weeks that we have. One of the models that we use when we work with your student is one that we call our Career Academy model. So instead of working with your student based on the major that they select, we work with them based on the industry in which they want to work in, because we know that employers tend not to care about their major. They tend to care about how they acquire certain skills and knowledge within their major, partner it with experience, and how that translates into the industry in which they want to work. And so that's why we have an industry-focused model. And so these are the 6 different industries that we work in, that we partner with employers and alumni in, and that we create career content in, and that we use to prepare your students to engage in, either to find internships or to find full-time opportunities. So one of the things I would also encourage you to encourage your student to do is to go into Handshake and to complete their profile. Because in completing their profile and engaging with the system around the types of things they're interested in, Handshake will begin to push content to them that is specific to their interests. Handshake operates using artificial intelligence, and so it sort of operates in the same way that you use Netflix and Spotify and those kinds of platforms, so that the more your student completes their profile and tells the system what it likes, the more Handshake will send them information that is unique to their particular interest. And so this piece around the Career Academies becomes very important, because the more your student knows what they're interested in, the more the system is going to work in their favor and push them content that fits with their interests. And while your student may be a freshman and sophomore and still exploring, that's absolutely fine. They can select the things they're interested in now, and then as their interests evolve and change, they just go back into the system and they update it, and they have the system reflect those changes. And then the system understands that and makes those changes as your student changes. So that is just something that we would encourage you to encourage your student do, so that the system can work with them. So with that said, this is our information. This is where we're located. This is how you would contact us. This is our Handshake information. We are on Facebook and Instagram. One of the things I would encourage you to do too, we post a lot of information on Facebook and Instagram, and we know that our students probably aren't on Facebook as much anymore, but we know our family members are. So if you're looking to get information from us about what we're doing, or profiles on what our students are doing now, we would encourage you to follow us on either Facebook or Instagram, because you would get a really good insight into what's happening both at Hopkins, at the Career Center, and what our students are up to these days. So with that, I would like to thank you all for being on the webinar today. It is 12:49, so this webinar lasted about 50 minutes. I know Rebecca has been answering questions, and so if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to respond to questions. And as I mentioned before, this webinar will be hosted on both our YouTube channel and on the parents' website for anyone who wants to go back and rewatch it, or if you know friends who are Johns Hopkins family members who you would like to send it to, you'll be able to do that as well. So thank you again so much, and I hope everyone has a great day.